welcome to the Real Shit Show, a show where we get to talk about real stuff while sipping on some drinks. And today's installment is about sex ed, baby. Everything from myth busting to STIs, birth control, to more controversial topics such as tube tying, vasectomies, and the big A, abortion. Not anal. Anyway. Anyway.
Depends on who's involved.
Depends on Exactly. No, all real talk though, I'm super honored to invite my guest today, which is peer health advisor, Stephanie Stine. Welcome to the show, Steph. I'm excited to have you on here.
Hello. My name is Stephanie Stine. I'm a peer health educator. I have spent over a decade studying sex education and sex-related topics. I have a sex education comedy show that is every other month. It is What's Next Productions. You can find us on What's Next MSP via Instagram, Facebook, and online. We always have themed months. Please follow our show. We are on Patreon, and we are also selling tickets individually.
Definitely include it.
Thank you.
All right, we have a ton of questions for you in terms of sex ed.
Good, I brought my notes.
I know you were going to get us started and kind of talk about myth busting.
Yeah.
Some of the most ridiculous things that you've heard. Maybe we can start with that.
Okay, well, one that I get asked a lot, which I shouldn't be asked because it's biology, is can you get pregnant from swallowing?
Yes, I've heard that one.
I've been asked over a decade, but by enough people to where when I'm asked this question, it immediately comes up. No, you cannot get pregnant from swallowing cum. No. Your stomach does not connect with your womb.
Who knew? Now you do. I didn't even know that was a thing until recently.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being
Huge
a question. I do remember the question, do penises have bones in them?
No, penises do not have bones in them.
So
they don't grow a bone. So it's the blood vessels. They fill with blood when they're aroused. Right. Grows into the boner that you see.
Totally.
Boner?
Boner.
Gross.
That's
Take a drink on boner.
That's a drink. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, a boner is the behavior. Oh, you're right. See,
explaining this, we're sipping during it, and you're more than welcome to sip with us. If we use any kind of word other than the scientifically or anatomically correct part, such as penis, vagina, erection, clitoris, vulva, then we have to take a sip. So feel free to sip along with us. Okay, back on it. What about other forms of contraception, such as I've heard of horror stories, people using Gatorade for lube or plastic bags for
that's
condoms.
Gonna dry you up. Don't do that.
It was, he had nothing but bad things to say afterwards.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to lube, first of all, it doesn't matter your age, you should be slipping and sliding with some lube, okay?
It's good to know.
But don't do an oil-based lube with condoms. Do not fucking do it. Don't do coconut oil, baby oil, which is the number one thing that people grab when they think of lube that isn't actually lube. Don't do that. That's gonna bust your condoms in minutes. So no oils on those latex condoms. There's tons of water-based ones. There's silicone-based ones. Just look at your tube when you go to buy it, and it will say what it is used for. But do not be grabbing household products and putting them there because they're gonna bust it. So that is a huge myth that I get a lot of. Coconut oil is a big one.
Yeah,
because it's natural.
For everything.
It's
your
healthy.
Hair, your nails.
Put it on your skin and it's healthy, but it's gonna demolish those condoms. Mm-hmm. So don't do it. Just don't do it. Buy loops. Don't be putting that crap on your bits.
There it is. On the bits.
Another one I get is the double condom. I don't know why I get this one. It's don't put on 2 condoms at the same time. It does not make it more effective. You are lowering your efficiency actually because they're gonna bust on you. You'll be lucky if they don't, because that friction isn't made for latex on latex.
Yeah.
Condom on condom. It's for skin and latex. Don't be doing that.
Okay.
Don't be doing that. 1 condom is sufficient.
1 condom
That's 97.8%.
What about condoms slipping off during sex and potentially getting, lost? is that a thing? Can, and how would you go about getting rid of that?
Easy. So first of all, if the condom slips in any way, you have probably pre-cum into that condom. So if you put it on backwards, throw it out. You have to throw it out, because what you're doing is you're flipping that out, and if you have any pre-cum in there, you're just shoving it right in there. So if you put it on upside down, throw it out. Oh, and condoms do get lost. Men become flaccid,
Or it just slips off.
and it just slips off. That's super normal. It happens. Fish her out.
Fish her out.
As awful as that sounds, fish her out. And then I recommend Plan B. That is not an abortion pill, another myth.
Yeah.
That just stops your ovulation. So it just makes it so you can't, you're not going to drop that egg then.
Yeah. Two things really quickly, I feel like a good follow-up. If and when it does kind of go in there, let's say you can't fish it out. Your body does flush it out, right?
It does. It does
eventually, at some point, whether it's a couple hours from then, you'll go to the bathroom and your body just tends to kind of release it. So
don't panic.
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
It's not
try and get her out. You should be able to.
Right.
It's a lot more rare to not be able to.
Yeah.
But if it's in your vagina or your butthole.
Yeah. The other one,
anus.
Yeah. The other one though is Plan B. I think a lot of times some young women and some young girls think that Plan B is the alternative form of birth control. And they take it too much, and there are some serious implications with that.
I would like to make a point that I do think that is over, the media is pushing that a lot harder, because here's my argument when it comes to all that stuff is 99.9% of people don't want to get pregnant, have the abortion, do all that stuff, right? So they're always going to take preventative care. I do think that when there is a lack of education, but it's easy to get Plan B versus the pill, it's easier to get Plan B than it is your birth control.
Right.
Because you can buy it over the counter, which I love. I love that we can buy it over the counter.
Yeah.
But so I understand that being it's not a form of birth control, it's a backup. If you find that you're using more than one a month, you need to get better birth control. If you're on the pill, that means you're really worried and you should be on an IUD or something.
Can you potentially become sterile from using the day after pill, Plan B pill repeatedly?
That is a hard thing to answer because every body is completely different in what we can take.
That makes
sense.
On
top of it, it hasn't been around long enough. Most of the studies that are done on birth control and Plan B are from the 90s. There hasn't been any new studies.
There you go. That's
as of recently, and they're small. They're 100 or less. We haven't done masses. We're not studying the effects of this stuff on birth control.
I feel like we should be studying
this
stuff.
That's 100% we should.
Yeah. That's just really, I feel like if you can't talk about it, one, you really shouldn't be doing it, right? And if we're going to be doing it, we need to be informed, right?
Yeah. It's so easy to get the information now, but the United States, every state doesn't women don't have the same rights as men legally in the United States. In North America, the only country that has women and men legally rights, it's only Canada.
Oh, okay.
That is the only place where males and females have the same legal rights.
Got it.
So the United States has it per state.
Right.
So depending on what state you're in, that's gonna
determine whether you can access birth control or what
kind of access you get, the type of education you've got.
It doesn't make sense, but
it's a huge country, and they've decided to make it smaller with the states. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't trust it being. It should be federal.
I agree. I think it should be federal too, because sex is a ubiquitous part of just human activity. It's just
there are only 13 states in the United States, including the District of Columbia, so 12 states and the District of Columbia, that have their sex education. It has to be medically accurate.
There you go.
12 states
out of 50.
Damn.
That's bad.
Need to have medically accurate sex education.
So So even in the states where you can get birth control, there are certain hoops that you still have to jump through. Some of those hoops being religious beliefs, which is
and
kind of ironic.
And moral. Like, you can literally just morally object to it. So, birth control, getting birth control through your insurance is a lot more complicated than it used to be because the Trump administration rolled back a lot of rights, and as a company, whether they are nonprofit or for-profit companies, they can say no to any contraceptive, any counseling, things like that, because they morally object to it.
Okay.
So it doesn't even have to be religious. A lot of the time it is religious based, but all they have to legally do is say, I object to that lifestyle choice, and they do not have to pay for it.
Wow.
There are only 28 states that actually use the Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
So once again, we're brought back into America is completely divided on who deserves what education.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even talked about the fact that there are only 7 states that are required to bring in queer education. We're just talking about heteronormative education.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's even lower for queer education, which is it is just as necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
That people, the queer people go into their sex lives knowing with the same information. They get the same diseases.
But I think you brought up a really good point in terms of, obviously we can't really speak, I can't speak to it, you can't speak to the whole queer community, unfortunately, but in terms of the heteronormative education, I already feel like that's kind of
what was yours?
Slim pickings, in a way. Mine was, so the very first time I ever received any type of sex education was in 5th grade. I was 10 years old, and they separated the girls and the boys. And it was very gender-based, yeah. But then the boys learned about, I don't know, whatever they learned about, and then...
was it puberty or sex-related?
It was more puberty, and then when it was sex-related, they brought us together. So we did have a thing. Yeah. It was all a whole day. We went to this museum, I'll never forget. And so
you went to a sex museum, or was that separate?
It was a part. No. It was separate. It was this.
Got it.
Science museum, and so they ended up anyway.
Sure.
And then after that, it was the high school that I went to. It was a requirement in order to graduate. You needed to have sex ed class.
Oh.
So that's part of my district. I think I got really lucky in that sense because that's really where I got most of my education.
Illinois is pretty on top of it when it does come to comprehensive sex education.
Right. It's true. I just think it's sex is a part of humanity. It's a part of just, everyday life. And I think that it's super important to educate, and it's better to teach them at an earlier age, I think, than later in life, because
100.
That way they're actually prepared for when they do start to engage. I know I'm grateful that I had that education because, quite frankly, I didn't really get that education at home. I was going to
ask. Did you get a sex talk?
I got a sex talk, but my sex talk was definitely more of a religious-based sex.
Mom or dad?
My mom.
Okay.
And my dad didn't really
Sure.
It wasn't until once I had already kind of started becoming sexually active that my dad even began to have those kind of conversations with me.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Thanks to school, I knew what to do, which is crazy.
I think, and I've done so much research on this. In college, I wrote a couple papers, actually, where I interviewed a lot of my friends and asked if they got a sex talk. Mm-hmm. And all of them said no. And this was 10 people. I was small.
Yeah.
All of them said no. And I interviewed all of their parents, and all of their parents said they had. So there was an obvious, 10 out of 10, that's a small group. Mm-hmm. But it was so obvious that there is a communication gap between these generations to where we can't be dependent on stuff happening at home, especially because I don't trust what your Karen mom is teaching you at home.
Yeah.
Because my mom has asked me to be a born-again virgin several times, and I live with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The math there doesn't quite add up.
It doesn't.
But, I get it, and I understand.
You, Mom.
I understand. I think it's just kind of interesting to see that clash, I think, happen with more so our generation, because I think our generation is kind of the one that's starting to become a little bit more open with our sexuality. It definitely, they've opened the gateways before, and now
Yeah.
we're definitely
marching
through.
I think our 80s and our 80s babies really helped us out. We're both 90s babies.
Yeah.
I think they created a culture to where they're more open to it, which allowed us to truly lean into it.
Yeah.
And like this Gen Z that's coming in right now,
Yeah.
they're changing our world. They are.
Who
They're-
knew?
I mean, they're gonna save our planet, and
Yeah.
not only they're the ones that are pushing that sex and sexuality is a spectrum, which it totally is.
It completely.
You know,
is.
I am.
It always has been.
It always has been.
always
I'm not
has been.
100% hetero.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm on a spectrum, same as you.
Yep.
You just like, where do you land in the spectrum?
Definitely. And I think another reason why it's super important to talk about is another stigma, which is STIs, right? STIs are a huge stigma, and there's always, certain ones.
Oh, can I throw in a quick fact? Everybody in this room has probably had an STI. Whether or not you, HPV is the most common STI. And it's almost undetectable in men until it's too late. A lot of STIs are, unfortunately,
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
But that's just because women, we naturally, our vaginas clean themselves so we can physically see
Yeah.
when, I mean, if your underwear is clear, you got to figure that out for yourself. That's not healthy. It is constantly
Discharge.
cleaning itself. And so, depending on the color and the smell of it, that's when you know that your body isn't right.
Yep.
So, but the stigma of STIs is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because HPV, almost everybody gets it in their lifetime. 1 out of 4 do. Your body naturally fights it most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. And then we get throat cancer, tongue
Yeah.
cancer, we get cervical cancer, things like that.
Mhm.
So I wanted to throw out that fact because the stigma is stupid.
I also think the stigma is stupid.
Because you and I have probably had HPV. Because
Yeah.
if you've had more than 4 sexual partners,
Yeah.
you've probably had sex with somebody that was either carrying it
Yeah.
or had it, you know? So it's like our body naturally fights that off.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It is stupid. And
So
then,
stupid.
I don't really know. But there's-
Chlamydia is the number 1
I
STI
was
in
gonna
Chicago. 30,000
It
people
actually
in the
is.
city have it.
It actually is.
30,000.
Yeah.
That's mainly in women. Gonorrhea is
yeah.
number 1 in men
In
here
men.
in Chicago.
And these are illnesses, like you said, that
Curable.
are curable, thank God. But at the same time, you need to be informed about them because they can have more serious implications in the long run. So this is why we have to talk about these things
Right.
so that we know, we're informed, and if something like this were to happen to us, you wouldn't want, kind of like the golden rule here, right? Treat somebody how you would want to be treated in that case. So that's why I'm like, these stigmas are
Yeah.
stupid because I wouldn't want
Yes.
somebody to make me feel like an idiot for simply living my life, you know what I mean? And you can still take care of yourself as much as you need to, and unfortunately sometimes things just happen, so
No, I truly think that if you are, I don't want to use the word promiscuous because I don't think it's a promiscuous
no, but I think if
thing.
you're like fluid, if you're comfortable and
You've come in
with-
contact
Yeah.
with it. It's 2 pills. It's just like getting a yeast infection. I mean, if you have a vagina, you have probably gotten a yeast
which is
infection.
a question, by the way, that we will be asking.
Oh,
later.
great. I have so
Yeah.
many answers.
Trivia time.
Trivia time.
But we have to do
Wait.
trivia.
Trivia.
You want a show? I've got a show.
Get it.
All right, ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Question for you both.
Mhm.
What percentage of the world is circumcised? 30%, 40%, or 50%?
30.
She's probably right,
Don't lean on me.
Yes or no?
but for the sake of difference, 40.
It was 30.
Yeah, figured.
The answer
We are
is-
Take a shot.
there are very few people that are circumcising men across the world, mainly because we have learned that we don't need it anymore. And actually we're cutting off nerve endings, so I'm so sorry for circumcised because there's some thrills you're never gonna feel, and that's your mom and dad's fault.
Wow.
It's true, but learn how to clean
Thanks,
it.
Mom.
There's buildup in there, so like pull it, clean it. Okay.
And what's the name for that buildup?
Schmegma.
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 That I do know.
You grow.
It's a terrible word.
I just wanted you to say it.
I honestly didn't know it off the top of my head.
So that's an interesting thing you just brought up, though. Before I take my shot, is
Same.
the uncircumcised versus circumcised.
Have you had both? I've had both.
I can't say that I have had both, to be quite honest with you.
They feel the same. I mean,
I'm
like,
assuming they would.
as a receiver, they feel the same.
Okay.
The man I was with, who was uncircumcised, we were very young, so that's why I pressed the cleaning of it, because I was on cranberry pills for UTIs. And for before we take this shot,
Yeah.
don't be going around slapping your dick on anybody's urethra. I'm so done with this shit. Y'all think it's hot, it's not. Don't be fucking slapping your dick around there. Now I've got a UTI because you thought that was hot. Now I'm like, cool, let's get started. Continue.
Continuing, because this is important.
It's so important!
It is important. It is.
Oh, no
right.
yelling. Take a drink.
Oh yeah.
Is that really a rule?
That was the rule.
Cool.
What's the best way? Sorry. What's the best way to prevent UTIs, urinary tract
Pee
infections?
after sex. Pee after sex. Say it one more time. Pee after sex. Let's take a shot. We yelled. Sure.
There it is. That's the shot.
I love it.
Pee after sex. Always pee after sex. Whether you have to pee or not, pee after sex. You got shit in there.
You gotta
pee after sex. Even men. Pee after sex. You really do. Clean that shit out. Clean out your pipes, always and forever. I want to get out this information since we're still on STIs.
Yes.
I just want to make it very clear, chlamydia is rampant everywhere in the United States. It's most common in 20 to 29, but you want to know the second most common, 14 to 19.
Wow.
So it is our teenagers and our young adults. It's that invincible feeling, I'm sure, but I really do think it's the lack of education. I mean, most of the states,
think you're right.
and it's like 22 states require pushing abstinence before comprehensive education.
Yeah.
So and that was my sexual education experience. We got 1 hour in the 7th grade. We separated in the 5th to learn about puberty, but I didn't learn about the other gender. I didn't learn about males. I learned about myself and what my body was going to go through and like my periods and stuff. And then in home ec, we took an hour, and the only thing I can tell you from that is being pregnant in high school is more embarrassing than having a pimple. So think twice. Which is pushing that all on women.
It is.
And it's not educating me at all.
No.
And then I watched an AIDS epidemic video on VHS, and this was in 2008.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It's atrocious in our schools. It's up to the school. My school is religious. We had church school every Wednesday to where you signed up, you got on a bus, and you left and you went to your church, and you got a half day to go learn about God, and then we all came back. And that was normal. There is no separation of church and state in small towns, outside of cities. They say there is none.
Yeah.
You know? So this is what I'm watching. I had all of my friends get pregnant in high school. We had STIs. They didn't know where they were coming from. I got pregnant, but I smoke weed. And I was like, girl, that does not slow down the sperm count like you think it does.
There's, I
was on top. Good for you. Do the work. You're still pregnant.
I remember hearing the myth go around that you couldn't get pregnant if it was your first time.
That was in our AIDS epidemic video.
More
so
wrong, right? You absolutely can get pregnant.
It takes one
time you have sex.
It takes one little swimmer to get up
Just
in
one
there.
little guy.
And we've got folds in our vagina. A lot of women haven't felt themselves. A lot of women don't finger themselves. 10 for 10 recommend. Get to know your body. I'm fucking for real. And I mean this in an educational way. I do, because a lot of women depend on, and this is heteronormative sex. That's where my expertise is. I know a lot about sex in general, but this is for heteronormative.
Yeah.
A lot of women depend on the man to teach them, to awaken their sexual desires. I did it with an ex of mine, and like he opened up my world because he was more experienced than me. But you have to be able to, like, here's the thing. I love you men, but you gotta be told what to do. You do. You don't have the body parts. They weren't learning about them. I didn't even learn about a clitoris. It wasn't in my biology class. I did not know about it until college.
Yeah.
And that was through my own research.
Right.
So I couldn't tell my partner that you got to be fucking hanging around there because that's 82% of women can only come through clitoral sex.
That is a good question.
Ejaculate.
I'll take that sip with you. So how about, I think you just basically provided a perfect segue to a question that was asked prior to us doing this. What is the importance of foreplay biologically? And I feel like I should get this question down perfectly.
Yeah.
Foreplay and the importance of it biologically.
Cool, you nailed it.
I nailed it the first time.
Don't doubt yourself, BB.
Never.
You're already a star.
So yeah, foreplay. Why is it important biologically?
So it's important in the fact of like if men aren't turned on, they don't get their erections or boners. Boners. But for females, there is no lubrication. So if you're not throwing a bunch of lube on there, a lot of women can't lubricate without the foreplay. I'm going to start here by letting everybody know that foreplay begins here and then it comes here.
Ooh.
Okay? That's the truth in males, females, and everybody in between. We have to be able to be mentally, sexually stimulated.
Stimulated.
Stimuli.
We must be stimulized.
But we have to be so mentally stimulated in order for our body to react. Our brain needs to be on board before our genitalia is. And this is for male and female.
Yes.
So like, I mean, it's incredibly important for women. I'd like to throw this out here. Foreplay for women should never be less than 10 minutes. If it's less than 10, you are not doing your job. Because a lot of women, it takes 10 to 20 minutes for foreplay to get them to the lubrication they need. This is scientific. On average, it takes 10 to 20 minutes.
There you go.
For the average woman, okay?
For the average vagina.
For the average man, it's 4 to 7.
Makes sense.
It is. But you know what? Men don't have cultural blocks that we have. Like, I mean, like they don't. Because, you know, I still get incredibly guilty when I masturbate. And I have a sex education show. I know the importance and the health to it.
Yeah.
And I still get Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
Every time I do it.
Yeah, I think that's something, I definitely can attest to that as well. Definitely get that.
And what is wrong with you exploring your body and figuring out what you need? Or just giving you what you need?
It really shouldn't be wrong, and it's kind of a weird thing to bring up.
Bring it up.
I've babysat quite a few kids in my day, and I feel like usually when they reach that age of around like 3, 4, 5, they really start to explore themselves physically.
Girls always find a pillow.
Girls,
if
guys,
a girl is
and
hanging out near a pillow, she has discovered her clitoris.
What are you doing?
It's true. And the boys are always doing this. They're pawing.
They paw. They pull.
paw.
They do whatever they pull constantly.
I do
and
too,
girls
though. Dicks are
constantly
wild.
are like, they're just down there, and I'm like, what are you doing? And it's like, at the same time, it's like what you're teaching them is not to do that in front of other people, right? But I do think that it starts.
I feel so conflicted about that.
It starts at that age, right, where it's like, oh, you're not supposed to do that kind of thing. Well, it's like, sweetie, you shouldn't be doing that in front of other people.
I think
right?
it's very important to be like private time.
Yes.
Private time.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about exploring your body at no matter what age. I
Yeah.
really do. I think sex is so taboo. We are instilling it so heavily into our children. If
Yeah.
I have children, I don't think I will, but who knows? One might slip past.
Who knows?
And I'll love it dearly, I'm sure.
One might show
But
up
I'm
on
gonna
your
look at
doorstep.
it and I'm gonna be like, yo, these are your parts. This is how your dick and vagina works.
Oh my
and you know, like, if they have questions, I'm gonna be honest about it.
I think you should be. And that's the thing. I think a lot of times parents try and tiptoe or dumb down a little bit.
It's uncomfortable for parents, not children. That's
Yes.
on you. Don't put that shit on your kids. That's a you problem.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because they don't view it as a weird question to ask. When they're asking that, they are genuine with that.
Sure.
You are the one who is getting awkward. You are getting weird.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at them and you go, mommy and daddy have sex,
Yeah.
and that's normal for loved ones to do. It's normal to feel this with your body. They're going to understand it more. And they're not going to make stupid-ass mistakes like
Yeah.
fucking their mattress.
Honestly.
Fucking.
Oh. That's the oldest
Sexing
one.
your mattress.
That's the oldest. Sexy.
Sex it.
Oh God.